live now.
Yes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Rethinking Automotive HMI in the Age of Agentic AI. Let's give people time to join, but meanwhile, I would ask you to drop emoji in the chat if you can hear us and also see our screen.
Yeah, I'll also quickly speak up to check if people can hear me.
Yes, so we got some emojis. Thank you very much. Yes, all good on our end. That's good to hear.
Thanks for the feedback. Yeah.
All right, let's give 1 minute or so for people to join because we have really great number of people who registered for our event. So yeah, let's give them a moment to join and then we will start in 1 minute. All right, I guess we can start. Hello again, my name is Julia and I'll be your moderator for today's session. Our main speaker today is Adrian Weibel. He is Head of Experience Transformation at STAR, and he will dive deep today into this exciting topic and also share his insights on how agentic AI is reshaping the automotive HMI landscape. Before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping notes. So this session is being recorded and we'll be sharing all the materials on also the recording with all people who registered for this webinar. And as we go through the discussion, please feel free to add your questions in the Q&A section. We'll collect them and address as many as we can during the Q&A session at the end of our webinar. Thanks again for joining and let's get started. Over to you, Adrian.
Yeah, thanks, Julia, and also a warm welcome from my side. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for taking some of your valuable time and joining us today. My name is Adrian. I'm Head of Experience Transformation at STAR, and I'm with the company now for almost 6 years and have around 14 years of total work experience. Lately, I ended up working predominantly in the automotive and mobility industry, covering everything from rather small-scale innovation sprints to large-scale collaboration projects with large enterprises. I'm a strong believer of a human-led yet holistic and interdisciplinary innovation process. And what that means hopefully gets clear during the webinar. Before we get into the content, a few brief words at STAR. We are a digital design and technology consultancy, and we grew organically over the last 16 years and have now 12 locations around the globe with over 650 employees. We create value from end to end for our clients. Starting together with them, we envision where they want to go and how to get there. Then we design a prototype and validate the user experience and ultimately bring the solution with our engineering team to the market. Our core industries you can see here on the slide. Important additionally to mention for us is that we're happy to help clients at any scale, from large-scale enterprises all the way to startups and everything in between. We do have a lot of certifications from TISAC to ISO certifications. Please don't ask me on the details, but we do have a lot of them. We're also proud to have won numerous design awards. Here's a small selection of that. But most important, at least for me, is that our clients are happy when they work with us, which states this NPS score of 57. Okay, that already concludes the prelude. Let's explore together how evolving AI systems are transforming the way we interact with our car, creating new opportunities and challenges along the way. We do this by starting with a short introduction, setting the stage by providing some general context, then zoom in on the scope of today by providing an overview of the evolution of AI in the automotive HMI area. We'll then take this as a basis to explore the potential benefits, but also obstacles on the road to adoption. I'll end with some learnings plus some insights on how we at STAR deal with this transformation. And overall, we'll end on a 15-minute Q&A session. Whereas, of course, time for questions, but maybe also manage to exchange some perspective and experiences via the chat function. Overall, we have an hour. The dry run already indicates that we might end a bit earlier, but let's see actually when we are through the content. So let's start. And as mentioned, before entering the specific scope, I would look to zoom out a little bit. Approximately 3 years ago, beginning of 2023, AI became accessible to a broader audience. Personally, and I believe for most people, it all began with the occurrence of ChatGPT, which became, at least it felt like that overnight, the fastest growing consumer application with 100 million users in just 2 months. Ever since, at least for me, it feels like an ongoing journey where we are uncovering step by step the impact of AI, understanding where it actually can bring value and where sometimes also not or not yet. It reminds me a bit of these strategic games where instead of like new foggy territory, you discover step by step new tools, features, and functionality. For me, it's a journey with sometimes like game-changing moments, like discovering the power of the LLMs or image generators. Sometimes moments of great fun when immature tools produce hilarious content, but also definitely equally moments of frustration when you can't fully control what's actually going on. Like, for example, during the creations for the visuals of this presentation, when Midjourney, an AI-based image creator, released a new version, and all of a sudden the style reference, which is supposed to ensure consistent image style, didn't work properly anymore. So please, therefore, excuse also the inconsistent style in the presentation. So transferring this overall journey to the scope of our talk today, we are also on quite an interesting quest. And to explain what we mean by this interesting quest, and as we are at STAR strong believer of a human-led process, we want to take you on a small journey. And therefore, please be introduced to Anna, who is a 34-year-old marketing consultant. Anna has a busy professional life, which requires frequent commuting between Frankfurt and Munich. She wants to make her travel time productive and effortless without the hassle of planning every detail. And not so long ago, Anna needed to handle everything by herself, set the routes, adjust the temperature, plan fuel stops. Her voice assistant helped sometimes, but only if she really actually said that exact command that the system understood. A while ago now, Anna could start speaking naturally. The car understood now much better and is much more flexible in understanding her question, and it helps her execute tasks. So it does the routing, adjusts the comfort, brings up reminders, but she's still ultimately the one initiating every single step. So soon, Anna will only need to set the goal, e.g., I need to be in Berlin by 2 p.m., and the car takes care of every step on its own, planning the best route, charging and timing, while she can enjoy the results and have less hassle. And not too far out, the system actually proactively will reach out to Anna, plan Anna's itinerary around the traffic, meetings, and errands, integrating also with a wider ecosystem of users. So what's actually happening here? And already heads up, I'm not walking you through every step of this slide. You can do that later on your own. For now, I want you to focus on the jump all the way from the left, all the way to the right. So what was back in the days a one-way and strictly rule-based interaction in an isolated system will evolve into a bidirectional, and as we heard just a moment ago from system side, even proactive interaction, where the system orchestrates different tasks and services in parallel, and where the interaction and experiences are not limited to one system anymore. So from a technical point of view, this seems like a logical evolution, but it also made us curious to understand better what is actually the impact on that user experience. And reflecting the use cases just shown, it's clear for us that it's not necessarily the technical hardware setup for the HMI and the interaction technologies that are changing drastically, So of course, voice will likely get more dominant, but the other way around, we doubt that the existing ways of interaction like touch, display, button and controls will lose their relevance anytime soon. But we also felt that there's something more important to focus on, because there seems to be that fundamental change in the human-machine interaction and the relationship between the humans and technology that's worth being better understood. So let's continue on the journey with Anna to understand more precisely what's changing and coming along. Also, what are new opportunities to create new value for the user? As mentioned, let's continue on that journey with Anna. So it's the morning of Anna's business trip from Berlin to Munich. Her agentic mobility system has already activated the itinerary, optimized around her schedule, real-time traffic and charging stops. Her meeting and Airbnb addresses are preloaded in the car's navigation. The Airbnb check-in code is set to surface automatically upon arrival. A preferred charging spot has been preserved via her OEM membership. So what's happening here? What the use case shows is how individual ecosystems of the user, like the phone OS, is linked now with the in-car HMI and, for example, the home operating system. Combined, this allows now for a whole new set of features and functionalities by connecting what wasn't connected before. And to quickly explain the layout of the page, there will always be on that second slide some guiding questions in the box that help you better understand the new shown opportunity spaces. So let's continue on the journey of Anna. As Anna approaches the car, it seamlessly shifts from her partner's profile to hers. Seat position, interface layout, and mirrors adjust even before she opens the door. Additionally, sensing through her smartwatch, the smartwatch detects that her heart rate is slightly elevated. The car intuitively adjusts her environment, cooler air, warmer ambient lighting, only essential notifications. What's happening here is that Agentic AI opens the opportunity to draw data from the previously described full digital ecosystem, and based on this personal data, allows now for highly individual and therefore more meaningful experiences. So what's next with Anna? After a meeting in Munich, Anna returns to the car. In the background, the system has been quietly connecting signals she wouldn't. Her recent Spotify listening, local event listings, and the fact that her evening calendar is still open. As she settles in, it pleasantly surprises her with a suggestion. Hey, looks like you have no plans tonight. Your favorite artist, Adele, is performing nearby. Would you like me to check for a ticket? With one tap, the car handles everything, reserving a seat, updating navigation, and turning an ordinary evening into something special. In this case, what happens is that Agentic AI can connect the dots from Anna's personal data and come up with suggestions that Anna would have simply missed or never could have identified herself. And last opportunity, on the way to the concert, system senses Anna is still in work mode. Her voice is flat, her posture is slightly tense. Aware of the long day behind and the event ahead, it gently offers, hey, you sound like you could use a little energy boost. Have you heard of the Night Weavers? They're the opening act tonight. Shall I play a few songs for you? I can also look for a quick healthy snack on our route. Since I know you prefer that, it might be good to grab something before the show. So what we're witnessing here now is that the system is actually really reacting to Anna's state of mind and physical condition in a very empathetic and understanding way. This combines two quite interesting aspects. First of all, it can understand Anna's situation and understand input like the tone of voice and body metrics data and make sense of it. And secondly, it can also react based on that information in a human-like manner. Two quite interesting opportunities with potential, if you ask me. So summed up, these opportunities, Agentic AI could help connecting digital system and services into one fluid experience, surfing insights no human could identify alone, making mass-produced products feel personal, making machines feel natural to use. And even if it's a bit stating the obvious, I do think it's worth to reflect the following. the 4 cases hopefully make the power of the technology tangible. So if you think of the use case, seamless digital experience and superhuman capabilities, Agentic AI applied right has the potential to really substantially reduce complexity in people's life, freeing mental capacity and time for more relevant things. And if you think of the use case human-like support experience and hyper-personalized experiences, AI allows to really design this new level of empathetic human-like experiences. Personally, for me, that's really like a super fascinating new playground and opportunity to rethink the interactions between human and machine. And also we'll cover this also some more later from a brand perspective, a great opportunity to really think about how you shape these experiences. But as with most technologies, there's not only light, and there's also a flip side. So while understanding the opportunities, we also realize that there are coming along a lot of challenges that are equally relevant to understand and consider. Therefore, to understand them also in an easy manner, please say hi to Anna's counterpart, Paul, who is a 35-year-old product manager. Paul often travels between cities, balancing a demanding schedule with personal ambitions. And as Paul is heading to a client meeting in another city, while driving, he has put on his favorite rock playlist. But since the meeting is only half an hour away, the car automatically wants to help Paul prepare for the meeting and switches to a focus mode with calm, lyric-free tracks. So what's happening is pretty obvious. The assistant that actually intend to help ends up acting contrary to the actual needs of the user. In a worst case, you would even overrule the user. And then again, small comment here for the layout. This time in the box, we listed guiding principles, how to prevent a negative scenario like this, always combined with some guiding questions. And for this use case, the guiding principle is keep the user in control of all time, make automation feel supportive and not dominant. So let's continue with Paul, who's catching up with a colleague over the phone. Paul ends the call by saying, let's chat in 2 weeks. The assistant interprets this as a concrete plan. It automatically schedules a one-on-one meeting, sends an invite to the other participant, and books a restaurant nearby. When Paul receives the confirmation, he feels confused and embarrassed. The system acted on something he never intended. Again, pretty obvious, but pretty bad thing that happens here. The system misunderstood actually only one single sentence and triggered a full chain of unintended actions. The potential consequences can range from confusion all the way to loss of trust and brand damage. So how to prevent it? Prevent misunderstanding before it even spreads by designing interactions that conform intent and minimize wrong assumptions. Next one. As the trip goes on, Paul noticed that the car's recommendation reflect private topics and he never meant to share. He assumes this is because he often chats openly with the assistant, sharing routines and personal details. What's happening is that the system doesn't realize it's crossing here privacy boundaries. In this case, a mild, almost funny scenario, but you can easily imagine how this can go wrong in a very embarrassing way, which again can result in some serious doubt or trust issues. How to handle it, protect privacy and act transparently is an absolute imperative when it comes to designing these workflows. So we're halfway through challenges, 3 out of 6. This is the 4th one. During this drive, Paul asked the system to check if any of his favorite bands have concerts tonight in the city he's heading to. The request fails because the connected service is temporarily unavailable due to new data policies of a ticket provider. What's happening? In an agentic flow where experiences span across different partnerships or providers, a connected service can break without a warning, e.g. to a new data policy that Paul hasn't confirmed yet. And how to prevent this? As the example might indicate, it might not always be possible to really foresee and think of every aspect and every incident that might occur, and therefore you should be prepared to adapt quickly. So can be on a small pragmatic level, like fixing small bugs like shown, but also on a more profound strategic or business level, like the adjustment of a business model, as potentially one of your service provider changes his business model and all of a sudden your service is not lucrative anymore. 5 out of 6. While approaching a charger in a rural area, Paul confirms his reserved slot. When he arrives, the system can't verify due to a lost cloud connection. After several failed attempts, he drives off to find another station and ends up late and stressed for the meeting. What it shows is that there's a high reliance on connected cloud services. In case they fail, e.g. on some critical functionality like charging, there's a high chance for deeply frustrational moments in the user experience. And even if it's not the brand's fault, it might easily be perceived as such. The main principle how to prevent this is by actively building and maintaining trust in a connected system, by clearly showing limitations, and again, prepare for failures. And closing now, concluding the last challenge of a by now highly frustrated Paul. After several disappointing experiences and a new upcoming leasing cycle for his business car, Paul decides to change to a new brand, expecting a smarter and more refined experience. At first, he's impressed, but after a few weeks, he realizes the intelligent features behave exactly like those in his previous car. Tone and reaction and decisions almost feel identical. So Agentic AI and mainly the collaboration then with the technological framework providers bear the danger of not having a differentiated and brand unique experience. And as we learned in the opportunity section, there's tremendous potential in designing this new kind of interaction and services. Therefore, make sure you extend your brand identity consequently into the world of the AI experience. All right, so summed up again, Agentic AI challenges reveal that we must keep the user in control, confirm before acting, handle personal data with care, design for failure, not just for success, adapt to constant change, and express the brand through AI. So, as mentioned, we covered now opportunity and challenge. I'm moving on to general learnings and takeaway section. And yeah, when we internally reflected on the opportunities, we came to the conclusion that there's really equally big opportunities and challenges. Again, there's incredibly exciting potential to substantially reduce complexity in people's life and design this new level of empathetic human-like experiences. At the same time, the room for failure feels equally increased, may it be through technical failure, unforeseen elements in the user experience, or changes in the data privacy terms in one of your key markets. Bottom line, we also came to the conclusion that thinking of all these aspects and all the use cases that we covered, that the complexity has risen significantly. It's a new field, new tools are in the on the playground. And where back in the days, you really created solutions for a closed interaction system in a box, AKA the HMI that we witnessed at the very beginning, you can now design complex and open-ended experiences across ecosystem and touch points. So this, in combination with our observation that there's rightfully uncertainty and insecurity at this stage in this field, made us think what actually our answer as a consultancy to this challenge could be. And one thing that we realized, which can be seen as one answer next to equally relevant answers from other consultancies, obviously, is our star lens, which is a robust innovation framework, which in a nutshell does two things. First of all, it can serve as a step-by-step process guideline to produce innovative ideas in a reliable way. And it helps you make successful and sustainable decisions in an increasingly complex environment, since it also serves as a decision framework. Simplified, the lens is a combination of a human-led process, so it's meant to help you answer some initial crucial questions like, where do I even start? It helps you to understand what are the needs, pain points, and wishes of your user, which we always believe that you really need to understand this to have the right starting point, and therefore also can answer the last question that we listed here. Where can you create the most value? And secondly, it secures an interdisciplinary approach represented through these 5 filters. Hence also, by the way, the name of the lens. So the filters are brand and product, business and market, user and social trends, technology, regulatory, and compliance. Based on experience, based on our experience, if you consider and integrate these 5 aspects in your innovation process, there's a high chance that you reach the sweet spot of innovation. And to demonstrate that point, we matched the challenges we came across during our talk on the lens. It shows greatly how the challenges actually link and fit into the different filters of the star lens, and therefore indicate that if you apply the star lens, you have a good chance that you tackle all relevant aspects and therefore have a good chance to come up with a relevant solution. I want to close the takeaway section also with a short let on our team, which in my eyes is the second key ingredient for successfully meeting complex challenges like we just learned about. The AI Innovation Hub is a dedicated interdisciplinary team with different backgrounds that you can think of, also matching all the lenses of the star lens, that is dedicated to make AI adoption real, pragmatic, and human-centered. Together, we also therefore have developed this program for AI adoption, which is meant to help you along the process, as the name says, of the AI adoption process. Starting with discovery, when you, e.g., recognize the need for AI, but need to support to define a clear strategy for how to benefit from it, all the way to scaling a successful pilot AI project from the experiment phase. And since I see that we are actually really great on time, I also briefly wanted to share this low threshold offering that we are also having, these ad hoc AI available sessions that we offer to clients for specific basic starter topics in the field of AI. So, for example, AI in the design thinking process, or a class on prompt engineering LLM mastery. All right, that's already it. I think we went through quite fast, hopefully not too fast. I hope you could gather everything. And yeah, before now entering the Q&A section, I already want to thank you for participating. It's not the end of the meeting. We hope there was a good amount of helpful insights in the talk already. And let's take a quick moment to take a breath. Maybe you have a sip of water before we start the Q&A. I'll also quickly mute myself, have some water myself. And maybe in a minute or so, we'll continue to Q&A.
Thank you, Adrian. So we received a couple of questions from the audience. So let us review those and address in a minute or so. Let me gather them all together, then we can start. All right, so Adrian, just let me know when we can start, and I will read the questions. All right, then, Adrian, good to go? Then the first question is, what about the physical setup of the HMI? I assume using AI. You're muted.
Thank you for the hint, Julia. And also thank you for that question. It's definitely a good and relevant one that we expected. So yeah, I think we also briefly touched on it already in the meeting. Overall, I think we indicate that the physical setup of the HMI for now, at least from this agentic AI perspective, really doesn't change that dramatically. So as mentioned, it gets evident that voice will be definitely become more dominant and also a more natural part of the interaction. But still, also all the other ways of interaction, like simply using controls and buttons, won't go away. I think it's a complex setup in the car. It's a complex use case where a lot of things can come together, and therefore for different use cases, different technologies, and therefore HMI layout integrating this multi-model interface definitely will stay relevant. So yeah, as mentioned, we don't expect it to change dramatically, at least from this agentic AI perspective. We believe other big technology topics, for example, autonomous driving, will have a bigger impact on the HMI layout as right now agentic AI. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Adrian. Next question. How do you usually act to explore the needs of people that can be fulfilled by agentic AI? What strategies do you adopt?
Yeah, also good question and wide topic, right? First things that come to my mind here is obviously knowing which markets you're designing for, and therefore really understanding also where you need to look. So if you are really going for the full globe, let's say, obviously you would need to look at a quite broad audience, but that's rarely the case. A lot of times we experience with our clients that they actually start on a smaller scale and therefore focus on 1 or 2 or 3 countries. And then really, I think it's depending on the specific setup and the needs. In general, always the way how we really try to understand and involve the users is that we actually talk to them. One preferred methodology from our side is that we have small sample qualitative interviews with these people, met real users, have the time to talk with them, and then really understand their needs. Obviously, this can be combined with quantitative methodologies that we can also cover with our research team. And by the way, all of this we cover with a dedicated research team. Yeah, so overall, roughly said, that's a strategy. Hopefully it answered the questions. Please feel free to ask more if it didn't really hit or answer what you were looking for. Yeah.
Thank you. And a bit connected to the previous one, but like, how do you regard the progress interest in different regions? For example, Europe versus US versus China and Japan.
Yeah, also quite interesting question. On the specific topic of agentic AI, honestly, I don't have that much knowledge yet, but I think what I can add from general experience is that I would say Europe versus Asia, there's definitely some different expectations. So roughly simplified, if you can do that, I think in Asia, people are much more open to experiment and interact with these new kind of technologies. Also, their expectations to how well it's supposed to work is not that high. And then the opposite in Europe, and then also thinking of the country that I'm living in, Germany, I think it's quite the opposite. People spend a lot of money. The car is still this very important thing, and therefore they really have this high standard of expectation. And if something's not working, then a couple of times the frustration is really quite high. So roughly said, that's some differences. Yeah.
Thank you. Another one. And by the way, thank you very much for really interesting questions. We have received them a lot. So next one. As agentic AI systems become increasingly predictive, anticipating user needs, even before the user themselves. What are your expectations around user trust? How do you see people reacting when the system knows them better than they know them themselves, basically?
Yeah, definitely a super sensitive topic. I think we had some good use cases that show how easily that experience can turn into something negative. So I think really by and large, definitely one thing that I would recommend is that you start on a small scale and really don't overwhelm. Slowly start with small use cases that really have high value, and by that gaining trust and confidence from the user, and then step by step evolve. Don't start with the most complex and the most sensitive topics. Really start small, slice the elephant, let's say, and start with some high value, less risk functionalities. Yeah. Hopefully that gave some answer.
Thank you, Adrian. The next one, how to quantify the effort one spends to implement such complex solutions with the actual values added to the end users and customers?
Yeah, I think another good question, and I would use the star lens to answer this. So as mentioned, always a leading point should be the user value. But then as the star lens indicates, you should not solely focus on it. It's really one aspect of the lens next to others. And another one that we mentioned is really also the financial viability. And here, you also don't need to start with rocket science. I think early stage, when you have some ideas, it's worth to think about simple numbers like what could be the return of invest on your investment. Do some really simple calculations, and then with maturing the idea overall, I think it's also fair to mature then, or it's a consequent step that you also mature the business model and also increase the fidelity of what is the actual return of invest on the feature that you're going to provide and develop.
Thank you. We got 3 questions from one person, so I tried to combine 3 of them. So basically, how do you assume the in-car experience change in the transition from genetic to multimodal? And how important is the context awareness in the in-car experience if we use AI agents? And really cool use cases that you showed us during the presentation. What do you think? What is the timeline for the OEMs to implement them so we all users can experience them live soon?
Okay, yeah, I'll start backwards, starting with the last one, as this is now the most present. The timeline, yeah, also a tricky one to answer. And if I would have this glass bowl, I would could give you a more precise answer. For the moment, I think I have to be vague. I think what you see starting now is that some car manufacturers are really picking up the topic. Some already release first really small scale functionality on it. And yeah, then how fast it will adapt, how fast we'll get a more richer set of features. For me, it's really hard to anticipate. I'm bottom line convinced that definitely there's the value. Ultimately, it will come. I personally believe, just like really reflecting on the talk and seeing opportunity and challenges, that there's a high complexity. So I don't see it happening overnight, as I think a lot of times it's the case with AI so far. There's this big hype and a lot of worry that all of a sudden everything changes overnight. And while certainly there is a transformation process ongoing with already significant impact, it also didn't change overnight. So I would also see that happening similar in this particular field. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So next question is about physical appearance of AI. So basically, what are the biggest challenges in designing AI agents? And do you believe that a visual embodiment of AI can create more natural interactions? And can it bother the user if you have a physical agent in the car?
Yeah, also thanks for this cool question. And yeah, I think in general, there's some basic options how you proceed. right? Either you go down the alley of really manifesting an intelligence in a physical form in your car, or you simply stay on the virtual level. I think both totally justifiable ways and both interesting ways to proceed. Per se, when it comes to the designing of this, I think there's a lot of aspects to consider. Some of the most relevant ones that come to my mind is really what we mentioned before, this amazing opportunity to personify the brand in your car. And therefore, really, one aspect that you need to consider is designing it according to your brand and making this really an enhancement of your brand. Then another aspect to consider, and that I think is really critical, is really thinking of that framework of behavior, right? So it's partially related to the brand topic, but overall, it's a new field and domain, let's say, where you clearly need to define some boundaries and guardrails of how this assistant can work. I think there, if I may mention, we actually have some experience also based on a good example with Nomi Neo, where we helped design the first cobot, which was a physical manifestation. And there, really, one essential aspect that we did was defining this behavior framework, where we clearly set the boundaries of how it's supposed to interact, how it should feel, and how it should behave. What is the scope really that the assistant covers in the interaction? Yeah, so I think these are some aspects that you need to consider.
Thank you. And what are the biggest fears while designing AI agent?
From like potential user perspective, or like as a company that needs to design this?
You can cover both.
Okay, yeah, I think to a good amount we already covered this trust, or like the user perspective, by talking about the trust aspect that needs to be considered. And then when it comes to the company perspective, thinking about a company that really wants to progress and proceed in this area, I think also, again, what we showed hopefully in this presentation is the complexness of the process, and therefore really one aspect that you definitely need to nail is this interdisciplinary approach. And if you don't manage this, this might really get a tedious work, because so many things need to tie together and work together to make something happening, like an assistant in the car, thinking of the physical or digital integration, all the technical aspects, the design aspects. So definitely, I would personally fear, if I would be a company, that I don't get the people together to successfully really get the basis and get the team aligned and moving forward. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Adrian. So we keep keeping questions, but I guess maybe the last one and all the rest that we didn't cover, we can then cover offline. So the last one, and really long one. In the automotive sector, we have moved from HMIs geared towards simple infotainment configuration that often leaving us disappointed with the limited scope of the setup, to HMIs dedicated to the skin of the driver cockpit. Again, understanding that this is more a question of skin than actual customization of information. And today we can say that HMI is opening up the frontier of the digital car twin. In your opinion, how valid is this direction? How much does it require a multi-touch point design? Not only the cockpit, but also, for example, phone or other wearable devices that a person may have. And how much should it include open protocols for plug-and-play enablement of third-party services? A complex question.
Yeah, sorry, I also was trying to read through it. And if I got it right, this question is about like really a closed approach versus like a more open approach. So thinking, for example, of open protocols, like integrating third-party software for mobile phones in general, like this bring your own device strategy. So again, this is a very hard to answer or not easy to answer the question on the spot. What is the right approach if you keep it closed or keep it open? In general, obviously, as fan of a human-led process, I would argue for keeping it flexible. And while I'm saying this, at the same time, I know also the strategic thoughts from the OEMs behind keeping it a closed system, being in control of the user experience, and also there with really knowing what the user is doing, being in control of the data. Let's say, don't want to make it sound creepy, but really having access to all the data and not giving away such a crucial and fundamental informations to a third party outside.
All right, thank you very much.
Hopefully that was the right answer to this long question.
Yeah, if not, the person can always come to us back, and we can have further conversations. Thank you very much again, everyone, for participating and also for submitting questions. I guess this is like one of the hottest topics nowadays, and I guess, Adrian, we need to start with this first webinar, like a series of webinars that are focusing on AI and customer experience in automotive. As you said, like we're constantly experiencing and experimenting with AI in our team, and I guess we'll be happy to share more and more findings with you guys.
Yes, that's a good final statement. And if I may quickly also address a thank you to the overall audience that was that was here today. But I will also quickly really take a moment to thank the internal team that tremendously helped me get this off the ground. So special thanks to Ekaterina, Anastasia, and Max, who really supported me on this, and overall to the great team of marketing and so on to get this rolling. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Adrian. And I guess we have the last slide with your contact details. So if you have any further questions.
Yeah, we missed the nice Q&A slide.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely here.
So just stay connected with Adrian on LinkedIn, or if you have any questions, you can address those to him. We will, as I promised, like we will share the recording and the presentation with you afterwards. And again, if you have any questions or you would like to start any conversations, we are here to do so. So just let us know. All right, then thank you very much. Again, thank you, Adrian, for a great presentation. And I wish to everyone a great evening or the continue good day if you are not in Europe. All right, then thank you very much and see you hopefully soon again. Bye-bye.